Da-na-na-na.
We are here right after a multi-day affair at Michigan. And I was thoroughly entertained by what we saw. I'd say I think the racing for Michigan was pretty good over the last 2 days. I think Sunday was definitely a little more
Yesterday
drunk.
was wild. Yeah.
There's a lot going on. And then today, it seemed like Martin Truex Jr. had everybody beat by a pretty large margin. What he did at the end of stage 2 was unbelievable. Yeah. Granted, I think the 99 was out front, who I don't think was very good.
Chevy was having a very, very, very bad day.
Yeah,
I think there was only 3 in the top 15. It was Larson and the Trackhouse cars.
Byron out, Elliott out, Bowman out,
Kyle Busch out.
Kyle Busch out. Yeah, really bad day for Chevy. But I didn't think we'd be saying this in the year 2023, or to be honest, any year in general. But Chris Buescher won at Michigan today, going back to back. Did anybody have that on their bingo card? If you did, you are heading to the prize section. What are our thoughts on that? It seemed like, as I said, Truex was unbeatable, but Chris Buescher came on strong late and was able to hold him off. I think Reddick was actually pretty good too, but another mistake from the 45 team. And you heard Reddick over the radio, not happy whatsoever about what happened. A lot of bleeps on the NBC broadcast from Reddick's radio transmission after the loose wheel and the spin. But what are our thoughts on Buescher going back to back?
You love to see the Texan native go out there and do this. It's super cool for them. Super cool for RFK in general. This was their first back-to-back win since Edwards 2010, I believe.
Yep, I think probably Phoenix Homestead that year.
They're. If people had doubts about it, how good RFK was, I'm pretty sure. I think Brad said it himself. If they're able to get multi-wins, they're going to be a threat. I don't think a championship threat yet, but I think both cars can definitely make a deep run in the playoffs.
I see those two as the most likely Fords to make a playoff run to the Final Four this year right now. You have to throw Joey Logano in there just because it's Joey Logano and he has championship pedigree. Kevin Harvick as well. I don't think they have the winning speed that they might need to go all the way. But the 17 and the 6, I can't believe I'm saying this right now, but I would not be surprised if either of them make the Final Four. I'm not going to be surprised about it right now. They both have been very, very strong. I think over the season, I think Brad's actually been a bit stronger, but he had that unfortunate situation at Richmond and kind of didn't have the same strategy as Buescher or didn't find what they needed with the car until Buescher did. Wessel, what are your thoughts about? You didn't expect to be talking about Chris Buescher again?
No. Look, it's hard to think right now. My brain's melting. It's not a good time.
Can you tell them what's going on?
My air conditioner went out yesterday. It is currently 85 degrees in my house, and I am dying. This is not fun.
I bet it isn't.
No.
Especially in Georgia.
Luckily, it kind of stormed today, so it didn't really get too hot. But,
right. Do you know when it's getting fixed?
They're coming out tomorrow.
But what are your thoughts on Buescher, though? Because as I said, I really did not expect that we'd be here. I knew RFK I was expecting him to take steps forward, but to do this is really impressive.
I think I was expecting both RFK cars to maybe sneak out a win this year, but I don't think I was expecting either of them to have multi-wins and not for it to be Chris Buescher going back-to-back. And at two completely different styles of tracks. He went from what is Richmond, like a little under a mile. Or
3/4.
Three
It's like
quarters.
it's like a 3/4 mile, and then winning next week on a 2-mile track. Like those are two completely different tracks with two completely different packages. So it's kind of cool to see him pull that up.
And beating some of the best drivers at those tracks in these races. I mean, last week you're beating Denny Hamlin at Richmond, which is not easy to do. This week you're beating Martin Truex Jr., who hasn't won at Michigan, but any track that Martin Truex Jr. is at, when he has a fast car, it seems like he's inevitable. And that's what it felt like across today and yesterday. But Buescher got the track position and didn't let it go because Truex had the chance to pass him, and it seemed like he was able to pass everybody else pretty easily, just not Chris Buescher, which I thought was it was impressive for the 17, impressive for just RFK in general. Let's talk a little bit about what happened at the 45. Tyler Reddick was right there, and I actually thought he might have been a little bit stronger than Buescher because he was kind of just staying right behind him. I think conserving a little bit, waiting for the right moment for him to strike, and he comes down to pit road. Seemed like the rear tire changer knew that something wasn't totally right, but kept the pit stop going, and Tyler Reddick has a loose wheel. What are our thoughts on that? Because it seems like it's just another mistake for that 45 team that has had a few chances to win now this year to put themselves in a situation with multiple wins, and it seems like there's some sort of mistake that costs them each time. What are your guys' thoughts on the 45?
It's like a curse that it seems like both the 2311 cars have, is that they both have pretty bad pit crews. But yeah, it's just was it he had an issue with the locking mechanism on the lug nut? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it seemed like he didn't even get it in at first, and then got it in after the jack was done or like down. So yeah,
I know whatever the fuck happened, he lost like 3 laps. It was bad.
Yeah, I mean, well, he spun and had to come back in because it was loose.
He had a tire go down or something like that. Yeah.
So that was just, you have to feel for Reddick. I feel for Incog.
Did he go back today?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, that's not fun. Sal, what are your thoughts? Because I think personally that 45 can be a championship contender. If they
clean it up.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I was at work, so I believe this probably happened while I was busy with a customer or something. But I was just confused. I never saw what happened with him. I just saw him like up there, then 2 laps down on the last run. I'm like, what the hell? But I mean, it doesn't shock me to hear they had another pit road thing go wrong. Like Weasel said, I mean, it's not just the 45, but the 23. This goes back to last year. Bubba had quite possibly the worst pit crew in the sport last year, honestly. I think both cars, because what happened to Bubba? Did he just fall off on speed, or did he have some kind of issue as well?
He just wasn't good.
Yeah, I think he just fell off on speed.
I don't think he ever had speed. I think he got track position and lost it.
But I mean, I think you could be seeing multi-win seasons from these cars if their pit crew could just deliver whenever they needed them to.
Yeah, for sure.
What race was it earlier this year that the crew took the 23 out? Because there was a race that he was definitely a top 2 or 3 car.
It was definitely multiple times last year.
Yeah, and I know there's been at least once this year.
Nashville last year is one that kind of is definitely obvious for me. Even Kansas, the first Kansas race last year too. He had a bunch of pit issues, so that's something that 2311 really has to clean up. But at the same time, they're trying to get their own pit crews. They're a new team, so it is going to take time to build that up. It's just really unfortunate considering the speed of their cars for those mistakes to be happening. Let's talk a bit about NASCAR's bad luck. I mean, they can't catch a break with weather. It feels like ever since the NBC stretch has started, every week has had some sort of weather delay or anything. So, I mean, gotta feel for NASCAR because I think the racing has actually been really good over these last few weeks. Because earlier on in the year it was good, not great, but since NBC has taken over, and this summer stretch has been a lot of fun. We've had some really, really good races here. So hopefully the weather gets better. Luckily, the next 2 weeks we're on tracks that we can race in pretty decent rain on. Because for some reason the short track wet weather package seems like it can only be on really damp tracks, and the road course wet weather package, just all bets are off. You can fucking bonsai in downpours. So, we'll
I don't
see
know.
what
It seems
happens.
like after that Xfinity race at Charlotte Roval a couple years ago, they don't really do that anymore.
And the
Well, they race
cup race at Coda,
the
Yeah.
Cup race at Coda was really the thing with when Cup
deciding
doing-
factor.
Yeah, I mean, I think NASCAR handled that Coda race great. I think they let it go as long as they
Yes,
needed
I
to
agree.
and called it at the right time.
As someone who was there that year, I think they made the correct call. Whenever they did call it, that was when it was absolutely the worst it had been all day.
And also Chase Elliott was winning, so that was nice. That's what I'm happy about. Hopefully that happens over one of these next 2 weeks here, because God, my eye is itching. Oh my goodness. Because he needs to win. So let's talk about that. Chase Elliott, lap 30-ish, 35, I think. Running top 10. I don't think he had great speed, but I think he definitely had mid top 10 speed, which is going to be really like that would have been really, really good considering how people at the cut line did. And then the tire just failed.
Other than like Suarez and Gibbs, I think
Suarez and Bubba did
Yeah,
very well
but
in the
still,
stages.
Chase only lost 15 points to McDowell, or it's just the cut line
McDowell,
in
I don't think
general.
he got any stage points, did he?
I know, but Chase lost.
he had
only
trouble.
15.
Mm-hmm.
Chase,
McDowell
I
had
think
some
it's
kind of trouble.
Chase's splitter. Something was wrong with his splitter. Chase was 40 out heading in, ended up 55 out now. So you think if he finishes like 7th and everything, he's gaining a pretty solid chunk of points over what he had and could be within 20 to 30, 20, probably around 20 points off of the cut line. So, I mean, really
McDowell
unfortunate.
finished 24th.
Yeah, it's not the week he needed to have.
I mean, I think you could kind of assume that going into Michigan, McDowell wasn't going to be very good because his best finish at Michigan is 20th.
Yeah.
So,
and you have to assume that Ty Gibbs is a good road course racer, but he hasn't really showed much this year to tell me that he's going to be able to compete with Allmendinger, Suarez, Elliott, McDowell, like even Bowman. I honestly would probably put Bowman as more likely to. I think Bowman would give me more points on the road course than Ty Gibbs right now. So it'll be really, really interesting to see what happens because the cut line, it's going to be exciting. But at the same time, there's also a very high possibility that we have somebody new win within the next 2 weeks. Because if Chase Elliott, if AJ Allmendinger, if Daniel Suarez win either of these 2 races, I'm not going to be surprised at all. And I don't think anybody else will be. So that's unfortunate as a Chase Elliott fan what happened. Just this is the worst year ever.
Terrible.
It's so I wasn't even surprised when it happened.
Are you kind of worried for Chase going into these 2 road course races?
Worried what?
That he's not going to be able to win them. Because if I was a Chase Elliott fan, I has he showed winning speed at all this year?
Fontana, I guess. Sonoma, I think he was actually pretty good. Was just off the strategy that he just went for track position to get first and actually still finished well. But at the same time, Chase Elliott at Watkins Glen.
I think his best shot's Watkins Glen because I don't see him getting it at Indy. I just don't. I think AJ Allmendinger, Tyler Reddick are both probably the 2 favorites going in there.
Put SVG in there.
But there's also SVG. But, I don't really see – I think there's going to be way too much competition for him at Indy.
I think Watkins Glen is going to be like a they're gonna throw everything at it.
Yeah.
Like that's what I've been saying for months, because like when he came back, I was pretty confident he'd still make the playoffs. But when the whole thing at Charlotte happened with Denny and him getting suspended and getting out of that race, I kind of was in the boat of being like, all right, I'm not going to be surprised if he misses it now. Just because that, like, to have the injury, miss 6 weeks, and then have a decision like that gets you suspended for a week, that's just not the playoff mentality that you needed. And I'm not sure. For whatever reason, like, they've definitely been improving. I think that Hendrick has, like, because over the last few weeks, like, it's something that needs to be talked about. Hendrick has not been strong. Richmond, they weren't great. Chase Elliott, I think, was the best car from them at Richmond, and kind of ran, like, where did he end up finishing? Mid-teens, or did he end up at 13th? I think
13th, I think.
And I think he was the fastest one of them at Michigan. So it's really tough to say right now, because it seems like Larson and Byron have come back down to earth a little bit from where they were last year. It's kind of like how Chase was last year, actually. Did I say last year for Larson and Byron? I meant earlier this year.
No, you said this year, I think.
Okay. But yeah, it was kind of how Chase was last year, because Chase had this crazy. Chase ran really well until like August, and then like Michigan last year, I think, is the race that like he was not good. Like, it was just like, what is going on? That's the track you expect him to be good at, and just they didn't have it. And then after that, I mean, he has the Indy Road Course where he gets wrecked late, Watkins Glen where he gets moved out of the way for the win, and then he only scores 2 top 10s in the playoffs. People forget that last year. Chase Elliott made the Final Four, only 2 top 10s in the playoffs. So it seems like the last year, that 9 team, who was the strongest team for probably the first half of the year, came back down to earth. And then seems like Larson and Byron are kind of doing the same, even though Larson had a good run today, finishing 5th. But it's Kyle Larson. I mean, you don't really expect anything else from him. He's one of the best drivers in the world. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. What are you laughing at?
You always say that with just a little bit of haste, and it's always funny to me. Best driver in the world.
Yeah, I don't like saying it, but it's true. Fucking Chris Buescher is better, though. Chris Buescher wipes Kyle Larson.
He's wipe his ass? Or
you know who wipes Kyle Larson?
Who?
Eric Almirola.
Oh, shit, he does. I forgot about that. Yeah, Eric Almirola owned him at Sonoma. Yeah, in the Xfinity race.
Intimidated him, and he was in front.
That was so random. I forget that even happened. Hey, Spencer's here. Say hi to Spencer. Hi, Spencer. Anyway, we have the Indy Road Course coming up, which in its 2 years being featured on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule has produced 2 equally yet very different, wild races. You had 2021 where Dale Jr. was like, "There's oil on the track," and there was just the curb dying and exploding.
Yeah. How did they end up fixing that for year 2? Did they just take it out?
I think they just took it out.
Did they take it out?
I don't know. I think it was
Either
there. I think it was there last year, but I think they
might have just been more reinforced
or used a different material. Maybe, I'm not sure.
I think they used a different material.
And you also have to think that the next gen car is different, so you don't know if that like didn't affect the curve like the Gen 6 car did. And then last year we had all the bonsai restarts into turn 1 at the end. Ross Chastain doing something, honestly,
finding a shortcut,
which I think he shouldn't. I don't think he should have been penalized for that in retrospect. There was no. That's the access road. Oh, I missed the corner. Sorry.
Yeah, but you gotta attempt to make the corner.
Because Chastain did not attempt the corner.
He just went. Yeah.
Which I thought it was crazy because I see him go straight on and I'm like, oh fuck, Chastain's done, and then they cut and he's leading and I'm like,
That's where Dave Burns asked him, "Did you think about this before the race today?"
No, so I remember hearing
No,
interviews about that,
Dave,
and a couple
no.
people had. Like, I think
Yeah.
Austin Dillon had maybe talked about it in practice about how he had missed.
I think he did it too.
Yeah, I think he did it in maybe in practice or something, and noticed that
No, I think
it
he
picked up
and
his time or
Chastain
something.
both got relegated for doing that on that same start. So, but Dylan was, of course.
I know some people did it like during practice. If it was intentional or not, I don't know. But I think I remember like hearing a bunch of people had been doing it in practice.
Yeah.
What do you think that they're gonna? I mean, they're definitely changing something with that access road this year to prevent that from being able to happen again.
Yeah, it's a stop and go.
Like as soon as you're in there,
it'd be kind of like going if you missed the bus stop or something. Or, yeah,
it's a full stop and go. Spencer was scared last year. That's too bad. Is there anything else from Michigan we need to talk about? It was kind of crazy. Christopher Bell was destroyed, and I think still rallied for a top 15, which is pretty impressive. Bowman wrecks out. Unfortunate for him. Really not his fault. Kind of the chain reaction above him. He tries to go low because, you see smoke. You think they're wrecking in front of you. And Briscoe and Larson are there.
what happened with Berg?
Murray, shit. He
we didn't. We got to talk about that.
We got. I was gonna wait on that. But we can talk about it now. Noah Gregson liked a. I'm not sure how to describe it. It was a quite inappropriate meme. I don't really even think it was actually like that funny, but Noah Gregson liked it, and I'm just gonna say this. I don't think we should be digging through people's likes. Like, I think that's a slippery slope going down. But Noah absolutely should have known better than to do that, especially in the day and age that it is today, of everybody can see everything that anybody does online. You have to be smarter than that. And Noah clearly wasn't. Immaturity has been an issue for him, and it seems like it still is. Again, I don't really like digging through social media to find stuff like that. I don't think that's really something that is a positive in society. But again, as I said at the same time, I think Noah Gregson absolutely needed to be smarter than what he was. What is everybody else's thoughts on it? I think that I hold it similarly to what Denny Hamlin did last year with the meme that he posted. I actually think what Denny did might have been worse. And Denny
What was Denny's? I don't remember.
He did the Family Guy thing of the Asian woman driving and saying "Good luck, everybody," and comparing it to Kyle Larson after Fontana.
Yeah.
Which is arguably worse than what Noah Gregson.
Pretty bad.
And, yeah.
Since Denny actively was posting it and making it, so and he only got sensitivity training for that.
Did he even miss a race? I don't think he did.
No,
he just did the training and that's it.
So yeah, what are our thoughts on that and the punishment for Noah Gregson?
I think it's pretty, just like a kind of out of nowhere thing, especially on the same week that it's kind of rumors are going around of him not returning to the team next year.
Seems more likely
about Toyota not wanting him back, and it's he's just making it a little easier for him by doing this. I mean, that 42 team is just not.
They're awful.
They're terrible. They're really, really bad, and it doesn't matter who's in the seat. Like Ty Dillon, as much as we harp about how shitty Ty Dillon is, that guy hasn't really been in a decent car since. I mean, was Jermaine racing even really a half-assed decent car?
I mean, no.
I mean, they were okay. I would say Jermaine Racing's probably the best car he's been in.
Yes.
But it's not. I mean, the 42 car was bad last year. It's even worse this year. Even Josh Berry, even though he wrecked and shit, He wasn't running well. He was running around 28th, 29th the whole until he
Which
wrecked.
is where that car runs most of the time. So
Yeah.
yeah. Sal, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's not good. I think Mike was telling me that apparently whoever on Twitter was sharing it and just tagging Legacy and NASCAR over and over.
I think that was
Might have been
Keegan
Mike
that
or
said
someone
that.
else. Keegan,
I
yeah.
don't. Yeah, I didn't know that.
I mean, you play stupid games, win stupid prizes. It's unfortunate. I mean, honestly, who knows what this means for Noah at this point?
Especially
So,
with the uncertainty that he had.
yeah, like you already don't know what ride you're going to be in next year, and this gets found. Which by the profile picture that the like little notification had, like this had to be like a year, 2 years ago. Which I mean, still doesn't make it okay, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting because I think that was his profile picture for a while, and he actually changed it recently. So maybe he saw that somebody screenshotted it and just wanted to be like, "Oh, change profile pictures." Can't be embarrassed like that. But yeah, I mean, really stupid. And when I saw the Athletic article that came out last week, I think it was Jordan Bianchi that wrote it. Basically saying that Toyota would like John Hunter Nemechek in the 42 next year. That's when I knew like Noah Gragson is not going to be in that car next year.
Honestly, I don't disagree with that move.
I think it's definitely going to happen. Before, you have to think it's Noah's rookie year. I mean, it's not a good car. I think maybe give him a chance in Toyota. And also, I think that if Truex retired, he was safe. You know, I think
John Hunter probably gets the 19
to the 18.
Yeah.
Or the
It also makes you kind of like wonder maybe Toyota is obviously not going all in on Legacy because Joe Gibbs is always going to top the Toyota camp, but maybe they're like serious as to giving good and better equipment to Legacy now that they're switching over. If they're vouching for John Hunter to move over to the 42.
Yeah, well, you got to think that he's got to be the next driver of the 19 as of now, right? So it's good to get him into the Cup Series next year and just have him get used to the next gen car a little bit. And
kind of like
that's the only thing that John Hunter doesn't have going for him right now is that he does have Cup experience, but he has not been in this next gen car.
Yeah, he only ran 2020 in the Cup Series.
And it wasn't a terrible
year. He ran a race, didn't he, for Bubba?
Yeah, Homestead last year.
Yeah,
I thought he did pretty well in the 38 whenever compared to everybody else that's been in it.
I mean, granted, that team and car has both gotten better since I think.
But I think he did well though.
But he did good.
Finished top 10 his first race there at Texas, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Was it top 10? I remember being there, and
I remember him doing well at Darlington. I feel like.
Then he wrecked. Was that the one where he wrecked?
I don't know. There was like 6 Darlington races in 2020. So half the season in 2020 was Darlington and Charlotte. That's my memory of the COVID year. Anyway,
I don't know. John Hunter, that dude's on fire in the Xfinity Series right now, though.
For sure. He's doing in the Xfinity Series, which I thought he was going to do in the trucks.
Yeah, he wasn't, and we may chalk that up to KBM probably not being as good as they used to be, because it definitely seemed like they were kind of in some bad years. But
we got to think the Toyota team now is Tricon, and Corey Heim has been unbelievable this year. I think that's a guy, like I rate Corey Heim higher than Sammy Smith. I think they got to get Corey Heim in Xfinity next year and get him to the Cup Series probably whenever Truex retires and get him either in JGR or the Legacy car. Or if 2311 expands, which I think they're definitely probably interested in doing. So we'll see what happens with that. Is there any other silly season news? the 31. We talked about Noah going to that car. Is that kind of out of play now, you think?
Mm,
I don't think so. No.
I think it depends if NASCAR ever lifts their suspension.
They will.
Well, yeah. So he's indefinitely suspended. Is he? I
Yeah.
assume he's going to have to go through sensitivity training like everybody else has had to. Or have they announced that?
I haven't read into it enough, but
Who all has had to do it? Like I know Larson was kind of the beginning of it.
Kyle
and
Busch.
I think Kyle Busch, Haley Deegan, I think also had to do it at one point.
Yep. Denny.
Denny. Yeah.
I think they asked Mike Wallace to. He declined. Same with Racing Sorelli. Two old white fucks that are assholes. But yeah, let's do picks. Let's share the screen.
I hope I finished last.
I think I finished last.
I thought I had a decent pick this week, and he just didn't really do much.
Oh man, we didn't do very good. So the winner, I
don't think any of us did good. Yeah.
Matt returns for 1 week and picks Keselowski and wins. That's great. Shout out Matt for picking up the dub here. That puts him actually in a tie for the lead with Bradley.
We're not counting Matty's points anymore, though, right?
We don't have. I mean, I'm gonna, but I doubt he's gonna pick much more. Anyway, so we have picking first would be JB, who I don't have a pick from yet. So then it would be me. Let's see who I have available for me right now. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to pick AJ Allmendinger.
You motherfucker. That's who I was going to go with.
So then next up, not sure if it's because I don't have picks for Matt, Bradley, and JB. So where'd Bubba end up? I think Bubba was
like 17th or 18th.
18th. He finished behind. Good. Yeah, he finished behind Logano, and you had Harvick. Yeah, okay. So you're up, Wessel. Who do you got?
Can you pull up my list?
Sure. Let me make sure it's updated.
So I am the D category.
Yep.
Damn. I mean, it feels like it might be too easy to, but I mean, Chris Buescher maybe. I mean, I don't know. This guy is just kind of on fire right now. I do have Michael. Nah, I do have Michael McDowell available, who's also I think a really good pick for Indy road course. But Chris Buescher, I mean, isn't he a pretty decent road course racer though too?
Yeah, he's been a pretty decent
streak. Yeah.
Yeah, give me Chris Buescher. I mean, it was a toss up between him and McDowell, but I'll take Buescher.
Imagine he goes 3 in a row.
3 in a row.
Crazy. Yeah. Tegan will be next, and he's picking SVG. And Sal, who you got?
I can't pronounce his name. Who's driving the 67?
Brody Kostecki.
Wait. That's not who I thought.
Oh, okay.
You're talking about the 33 then. Who's the 33?
Yeah.
Kamui Kobayashi. Okay. That's a good pick. Great road course races. So we got a few ringers going at each other this week. We'll see who Matt, JV, and Bradley pick if they do pick this week. So we have that. We have 2 Australian supercar drivers coming in this week. What are our expectations for them? SVG coming back after his win at Chicago, and Brody Kostecki making his debut, who's actually beat SVG in the points so far this year.
I think SVG's kind of already set the precedent for.
Yeah.
I think he set the bar pretty high.
Definitely.
So I think going into this race, like you got to expectations. I think are top 5. Like he's got to be in contention for the win. I don't know really a whole lot about the other guy. And granted, I didn't know much about Shane until Chicago, but we'll see.
Hamburger.
Van Hamburger, that's what Logano called him, So, what are your expectations?
I think SVG is in for a very rude awakening this week. Like, he probably thought the Chicago street course was calm. I mean, obviously, these guys aren't professionals on wet conditions like that. So, but Indy, he is gonna see how aggressive these guys really are on these restarts.
I have a bold prediction that he, at 100%, at some point in this race, is going to get dumped in turn one.
I think he'll
100%.
dump somebody.
I don't think he'll dump anybody.
I think it'll get to the point where he's like, this is BS and someone needs to get put in their place.
Ty Dillon.
If you're beefing with Ty Dillon, your day is terrible.
If you think SVG is in for a rude awakening, I don't think he's going to be that bad to be running back by Ty Dillon.
That's fair. Ty Dillon just stays out, slams him, SVG wrecks him. That'd be great.
The only way he'd be finding Ty Dillon is if he's lapping him.
I know there's people who wouldn't be a fan of it, but I think it'd be really, really cool to see SVG in this. I don't know if this is his last race of the season, but in the season 2-0.
I'd imagine this is probably all that he's gonna do for the rest of the year.
You didn't know, I don't think they had this planned though until what happened.
Until
after Chicago, yeah.
Well, imagine he wins this. He goes 2 for 2. What do you do?
You know
then?
what? Never mind. His rude awakening is for that IRP race.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm gonna say, bro. Yeah. When he gets dumped by Lawless Allen.
Oh, what a wild move to jump in a truck and go to IRP. Like what?
I like that though. That's fun.
That's a wild jump.
I mean, he probably wants to just see how
get a little oval experience.
He could do an oval, yeah.
But you're going to the shitty truck series.
But you got to admit, like he'll race that and be like, well, it's never going to be as bad as this.
Okay. What car is he in? Like, what truck is he in?
The 41? 40, yeah.
What team?
Nice.
Oh, Nice. Okay.
Kind of like the one that Chastain's run a few times this year.
I completely forgot Nice that was a company, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean,
to be fair, they have like 3 trucks, and the only competitive one is Carson Hocevar.
It seems like they haven't been, like, other than Carson Hocevar, it seems like they haven't been good since Chastain was in them.
I mean, I think that Hocevar has given them their best run they've probably had right here, right now.
And they were only good that year. People like discredit them a lot and say that they've only been good now because Hocevar's in the trucks. But the only reason they were good with Chastain was because that was the year that they had some like super strong alliance with GMS. So they were getting a lot of their trucks.
Yeah.
And then the next year, yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, the next year they stopped having that thing with GMS because I think GMS like just cut them off or whatever. And
they were scaling down their truck.
Yeah, and even
that's when they were starting
to
try to get into the Cup Series.
Yep. Anyway, yeah, I think Hocevar is really, really good. I'm interested to see where he goes next year. I think if he ends up in JRM, he's an instant championship favorite.
I think he's probably in the 8 car. I mean, I feel like it's probably already a done deal. It just hasn't been.
Or we could see him inspire next year. We'll see in the 7.
I really hope he doesn't do that.
I hope he doesn't either. I think it'd be better for him to go to JRM.
But where would his pathway to the Cup Series be from there?
JRM. I think in 2 to 3 years you see Junior finally opening up that wallet and
I don't know. The longer Junior waits, the worse it's going to be.
He missed his.
I think he missed his window. I think it's there's no way it's going to happen without like investing into another team.
He's going to need a big money backer if he wants to.
Which Dale Jr. can get that. I mean, what person would not want to go into business with Dale Jr. in the Cup Series? I mean,
I think he wants full control though. So
I think he could get it though. I mean, think about 2311. Like Denny Hamlin's kind of running that team.
Yeah,
but
you just need a
Michael
big name.
Jordan's backing it with the money. Yeah.
I mean, it's a good example because like we see 2311 has been so good so far. Roush has taken such a positive step since Brad Keselowski's been there, just because those guys know what winning organizations do, and Dale Jr. knows the same. So I think that if he's in any team in any way, they're going to be successful pretty quickly, I think. So we'll see what happens with that. Is there anything Indy, Michigan we want to talk about? Any news that came out this week? We have RF Brad Keselowski said that they're interested in adding a third team, but that's a little bit down the road. Goodyear is going to conduct a tire test on the Indy Oval. So that'll be interesting.
That's good.
I think that the Indy road course has gotten a little too much hate, but I think the Indy Oval never should have been off the schedule anyway. So
I think it suffered from a product of, for one, Goodyear.
Yes.
And two, the later years of the Gen 6 car was not good.
That track
it was hard to pass on that track.
it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Martin Truex Jr. announced he'll be back for 2024 with Joe Gibbs. I mean, that kind of seemed inevitable considering
how good of a year
how good he's been this year. Yeah.
Now, had he been running like he was last year,
I think he'd be done.
I mean, granted, he wasn't winning races last year. He was still fourth
top
in
five
points
in points. Yeah.
And missed the playoffs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think him having multiple wins this year, definitely being in contention more, leading the fucking points right now, kind of helps that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think he's kind of almost got the regular season locked up. He's got a pretty good gap on Hamlin now.
Is it Hamlin in second or is it Byron?
Hamlin in second now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Truex actually would give him the edge of the road courses, so I think he'll be in good shape to get that. Let's talk a little bit about CFRL. We had JB win last night to lock himself into the round of 8, which he basically was already locked into. So the drivers in it will be Tegan, Bradley, myself, JB, Ryan, Spencer, and Incog, NSP. There's somebody else. I'm sorry, whoever else is there, and I don't know you. Tegan, me, Bradley, JB,
Ryan,
NSP, Spencer, Ryan, Incog. That's 8. Never mind. I just am an idiot. So stupid. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. We have Road America, Richmond, and Talladega coming up in this round, which will be a lot of fun. Those are 3 tracks that can bring 3 completely different things, but I think they all can be wild in their own ways. So that will be fun. Is there anything? Although, by the way, shout out to S'mores. He's broadcasted the last 2 weeks. He was joined by James this past week, so we appreciate them doing it, and hopefully we can have more of those coming up soon. Is there any other midweek? Is at Eldora this week? I'm not sure if this is confirmed. I'm just going to say this. I believe it's open entry for anybody in the league.
I think so. I think I remember something about that.
So that's going to be interesting. Going to be hopefully a good field for that. Sal, you'll be there, right? Midweek?
Yes.
Gonna get dirty with me?
Yes.
All right, let's go. Is there anything else you guys would like to talk about before we bounce out of here? It's a little bit of a shorter episode today. Not really that much to talk about, though. Michigan, while it was a good race, I think was pretty uneventful after day 1 of it.
I thought, honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. When they called the race yesterday and came in today, I thought that we were going to have another boring ass Martin Truex Jr. dominating on a Monday. I thought that the type of race we were going to get, because that's what it seemed like after watching on Sunday. He was clearly the fastest car. I still think he was probably the fastest car.
Yeah. I mean, he's already done stage
Buescher.
2.
Yeah. But, yeah. I mean, he doesn't win exciting races. We know that.
And that was an exciting race. I was like, whenever he and Buescher were side by side under the lap car, was it McDowell at that point?
Yeah.
And Truex got loose. I was like, oh my goodness! Like I was like Dale and I were both.
It seemed like everybody was just getting like if you were on the bottom below a car, it was because that's kind of what happened to everybody. Yeah, it was just because of the right rears not like being as straight on these cars like they were on the Gen 6s. Is that they're not getting enough side force, and it's just pulling the cars around.
The aero things we had seen in previous cars, we hadn't really seen with the next gen in like the side by side and taking like we hadn't seen like, oh, you get on somebody's door, can spin them out, but we saw that on these 2 days, which was
Sunday going into Monday.
yeah, I think pretty interesting. So I really think that's going to do it for us. Anything else you want to talk about? I think we covered everything basically that needed to be covered.
Who do we think Tegan's boneheads are? As he said,
Noah Gregson.
Yes.
Noah Gregson's going to be a bonehead. Yeah.
He's got to be. Who did something stupid? Reddick's pit crew. They're probably boneheads. Mother Nature might have been a bonehead. And then he would have said something about Rodney. He said Rodney can't set these cars up for shit. He'd say something like that. He only gets good towards the end of the race. He'd complain about that. Anyway, time to play the music. We had no music on this episode. We had no two dudes. We had no boneheads. We don't have any segments without Matt or Tegan. So I assume Tegan will be back next week. Who the fuck knows with Matt? But we'll see. The music's gonna play. Wessel's gonna sweat, and we are gonna get out of here. Thank you for watching. See you next week.